It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. He's on assignment. So it's me and you. Wow, what a day it was yesterday. First off, personally, you know, when they had the intermission yesterday in the Bobulinski hearings, that we'll call it. Actually, it's was the Joe Biden influence peddling hearings. One quick thing. Comer did get close to what we have said of what the Democrats are, the Democrats using as their, their side of what happened with the whole Biden family, which, by the way, I didn't see a Democrat bring it up yesterday, but Comer did. He didn't go as detailed as we did. And in case you don't know what we're talking about very quickly, you know that the Republicans are saying the Biden family and Joe Biden was the head of an influence peddling enterprise. And the whole goal was to get tens of millions of dollars to enrich the Biden family by going to foreign governments and entities of foreign governments and getting them to agree to give the Biden family tens of millions of dollars to get future influence with Joe Biden. And that's the Republican side of it. The last time we heard, I didn't see it brought up yesterday, but the last time we heard the Democrat side, they said, it's an illusion of influence. An illusion of influence. What do you mean? Illusion. Oh, so Hunter Biden and Jim Biden were creating an illusion of influence. So they were committing fraud against foreign entities, telling them that Joe Biden would do something for them if they gave them tens of millions of dollars, and the whole family was in on it. They distributed it to the entire family. And Joe Biden was completely clueless, so the entire family was involved in an enterprise to screw over old Joe. Now, Comer didn't go as far as we have, and, well, when they say that, you know what they mean, but he did bring it up. So we'll get to that coming up here on the show. There's just so much news. I saw that Biden, I see that the Steelworkers Union now is planning their death. They endorsed Joe Biden. I'm a former member of the United Steelworkers Union. And if I was part of that union today and I was working there, that's exactly what I would say. Just like the coal miners union that endorsed Obama way back when. And then in 2008 and 2012 said, well, we're not going to endorse anybody. Well, yeah. Well, you're idiots. You endorsed Obama, who said his whole goal was to bankrupt the coal industry. Who should we look at? The guy who says he's going to do everything possible to keep our industry going, or the guy that has publicly stated we are going to kill this industry? Let's cut our own throats. By the way, when I say cut our own throats, I am not in any way literally saying that any coal miner back then was going to cut their own throat. I'm talking about killing their own jobs. Just want to make sure. We're in bloodbath week here, and so you got to be very careful how you say things. I don't want to be misinterpreted. So that's what they did. We talked. Was it the Teamsters head a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, we're gonna endorse Biden, even though most of our union members won't. Like, what the hell's going on? And we said this way back when the leadership of all the major unions were endorsing illegal immigration. And we said the members aren't. Why are you paying your dues to a leadership that doesn't give a damn about your jobs? How did that ever happen? And how did it continue over a significant period of time? And it continues with the United Steelworkers. The United Steelworkers Union, let's kill our union. Let's destroy our jobs. Haven't you figured out, hello, is anybody in there? In order to reach their climate change goal, eventually they have to get rid of manufacturing. Heavy manufacturing has to go. Hello? Thinking of Pink Floyd now. Is there anybody in there? Jeez. So we'll get to that here in just a little bit. And on the same day, Biden put out a new EV mandate to get rid of gas-fueled vehicles. So we will get to that. GDP revised down slightly. It got to be a little bit of a zoo yesterday. Bobulinski testifying, again, a former business partner of Hunter Biden. And here's just part. We've got tons of audio on this. I just want to throw a quick clip in here, and we'll get to all the audio. But there's just so much audio today that I want to play on the show. But this was Bobulinski when he was extremely blunt. He said, came right out, said Jamie Raskin and Representative Dan Goldman, liars. Oh, wow, just greatness. Here it is.
We keep hearing from certain corners that our democracy is at risk and democracy is on the ballot in 24. Yet the same people preaching this mantra know better. They continue to lie directly to the American people without hesitation and remorse. Rep. Dan Goldman and Jamie Raskin, both lawyers, and Mr. Goldman, a former prosecutor with the SDNY from New York, will continue to lie today in this hearing and then go straight to the media to tell more lies. Hunter Biden's defense attorney, Abby Lowell, weaponizes letters to Congress to try to smear my name
Mr. Chairman.
misstate the cold hard facts
Mr. Chairman.
in an attempt to save his powerfully connected client and his father. I challenge Mr. Lowell to make those claims on national television so he can be held accountable for his lies. Prior to my successful business career, I was an officer in the United States Navy. At Navy's elite Naval Nuclear Power Training Command, I later served as the command's chief technology officer.
Here we go now.
Please proceed. I apologize for the disruption from the...
Okay. Am I supposed to say it's my time, Mr. Raskin?
Yeah. But please, Mr. Bobulinski, please come to order. Mr. Bobulinski, please proceed.
Okay.
Please proceed. I apologize for the disruption from the minority.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, save his time, but he called members of this committee liars, and I just want to know whether the order and decorum requirements of House Rule 11 apply to witnesses appearing before the committee. Does it apply or does it not?
No. If you're a liar, the witness can call you a liar.
Should I address? I don't.
This is great.
There's decorum from the members. We've asked for that. There's no language that I'm aware of pertaining to a witness.
There you go. That's just great. Overall, just from going through, I watched the first half of it, second half because I took a break and came back. I had to go out because yesterday was the day after 4.5 months that I had to try hitting golf balls again. I've talked about my knee and everything's great. Everything's great. I hit the ball good. So, but I've watched as much as I have since I've come in here and looked at all the long form, different audio of the different members of Congress, going after Bobulinski, and they really didn't go. It was really interesting because even the witness that they brought in, the Democrats brought in, had really nothing to do with Bobulinski, nothing to do with Hunter Biden. It wasn't like they brought in a Hunter Biden business partner who disagreed with all of it, because that would have been interesting to see that, right? You find a business partner who's saying no, absolutely nothing was going on. They brought in a former associate of Giuliani. And nothing to do with it. And it's like, okay, they just try to change the topic. Oh, what was it, Representative Moskowitz, who walked in The pro-Putin Democratic Congressman Moskowitz walked in. He had if he was walking down the hallway before he went into the chambers, he had his Putin mask on. So obviously that is the official notification to the world that Moskowitz is a Putin supporter. And it was good to see that. It's good to see that he admitted that he was a Putin supporter. But other than that, they really couldn't shake Bobulinski at all. Some of the audio is just great because he just outright said, he said that, look, Jim Biden and Hunter Biden both perjured themselves before, in their depositions. And then I saw that Comer has invited Joe Biden to testify. You think that's going to happen? Anybody think that's going to happen? So all in all, it was interesting, and it moved it forward. Who was the Democrat that said, if you got the evidence, why don't you impeach him right now? And Comer looked back at him and said, well, we actually go through the process of fact-checking before we impeach anybody. Oh, it was great. It was really good. And then AOC, completely clueless. What crimes did Hunter commit or Joe commit? He goes, well, he goes, well, he listed some crimes. He goes, the RICO. He goes, RICO wasn't a crime. It's a group of crimes. He goes, well, okay, and she just wouldn't let him speak. He goes, I'm trying to speak. She just wouldn't let him speak. And so it was normally what you expect. But I was happy to see because, the one thing is, the biggest BS that you see in so many of these congressional hearings is that they expect decorum from the witness and they give none back. They expect that you act in a certain way and they don't act that way. And so I go, like Bobulinski, I would look and go, to hell with you. You're a liar. And one of the most well-prepared, I think, witnesses I've ever seen in a very, very controversial and smoking hot issue. And he was one of the best witnesses there because they didn't want him to talk in any way. And a couple of times, and we'll have that audio, a couple of times when they did challenge him, it didn't go well. So we've got a great show ahead. Oh, man, it's going to be good. If you want to get in, love to hear from you. 866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It's not always easy to spring back from the harsh days of winter to warmer months ahead. From de-icing chemicals to hidden debris underneath snow and ice, winter conditions can do serious damage to your truck. Here's a must-do maintenance check to help you minimize downtime and stay rolling. Have your wheel alignment checked to set you up for a safer and smoother ride. Driving with incorrect wheel alignment can result in reduced performance, tread wear, and steering issues. While you're at it, make sure your tires are properly inflated based on the load you're hauling. Underinflated tires can impact your fuel economy and result in blowouts.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off, but I am here. So you wonder when you look at something like this, you say, well, who won? Because that's always the thing when you had the hearings yesterday with Bobulinski. Who won, right? Who won? And it's very easy to figure out who won. ABC and CBS didn't cover it at all in the evening news. Here is, again, you've got the accusation from a business partner, who worked with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, that he viewed as a business partner, and said that Joe Biden committed crimes that Hunter and Jim Biden, the president's brother, committed perjury, and they didn't cover it. And I believe NBC, according to Newsbusters, also didn't cover any of the damning stuff against the Biden family. And that's how you know right there. That's how you know the Republicans are winning this. When the media doesn't cover it. If they thought they had a slant to cover it in, now MSNBC and CNN, yeah, they probably got to cover it. But ABC and CBS avoided it completely, which means, think about that. Do you think if there was a business partner of Trump's son and a guy said I was a business partner of Trump's son and Trump, and they committed crimes, do you think that ABC and CBS, irrespective of what came out of the testimony, that they would not cover it? So, yeah, it shows you the bias in the media, but it also shows you they couldn't find an angle that would be positive for the Bidens. Otherwise, they would have come up with it, and they couldn't come up with it. So that's how you know. So you learn two things. Obviously, it's biased because, you know, if it was reversed, they'd be covering every little stinking aspect of it. And so we'll get to a ton of audio coming up following the bottom of the hour because I want to just lay out everything because it was really interesting yesterday. In fact, we'll get to Comer's opening remarks, and also we will get to Bobulinski's opening remarks. I do want to get to the one part here. Yeah, here it is. Where Comer asked Bobulinski if there's anything that he wants to say, and this is all about the Chinese Communist Party infiltrating the White House. This is Bobulinski. Here we go.
Mr. Goldman, we don't pay any attention to Mr. Goldman either, but is there anything that anyone said up here that you want to take about 55 seconds to respond to?
It's tempting. I mean, my biggest appeal to everyone in this room is I wish you would spend the time focusing on the fact that the Chinese Communist Party infiltrated the White House of the United States of America through the Biden family. I don't say that lightly. It's not a joke. I was willing to die for this country, as was my father and both my grandfathers and my brother. This is serious, serious stuff. We should be asking how that happened. Take the Biden name and the Biden family completely out of it. How did the Chinese Communist Party infiltrate the White House of the United States of America? Let's start there, focus on those facts, what they did, how they did it, why they used money, why they used private enterprises instead of military stuff and other stuff. That is huge to our national security. So I appreciate you yielding that time to me, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, and I'll just say this. Mr. Tlaib and Ms. Presley criticized the investigation, but I think most Americans care about public corruption, and they realize the FBI hasn't done the job, that DOJ hasn't done their job, the IRS hasn't done their job. They've been told to stand down. All that's left is the House Oversight Committee, and we will do our job.
How do you argue with that if you're a Democrat? Besides changing the topic or saying, but Trump did this over here, how do you argue that? We talked yesterday about Christine Blasey Ford and saying, no, the media saying, what a great witness. It's like she had no evidence. There was nothing. How can she be a great witness? Well, she looks sympathetic, and that makes a great witness. No, what makes a great witness is you can verify the facts, which is the evidence that is damning to the person that you're attacking. Well, everything that Bobulinski said, nobody could sit there and say that didn't happen. Nobody could say that. He is an excellent witness, which is why you had 2 out of the 3 networks not carry it yesterday, because they knew they couldn't find a positive spin on it.
bringing on the chaos. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. Red Eye Radio.
And Eric has the morning off, but I'm here. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you want if you can't listen live overnight. All right, I want to play here Tony Bobulinski's opening statement yesterday on the House Judiciary Committee and their hearing on the corrupt Biden family business.
I now recognize Mr. Bobulinski for his opening statement.
Should I allow Hunter to give his opening statement first?
Doesn't appear Mr. Biden showed up for his public hearing, so we'll recognize you, Mr. Bobulinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, ranking members, and members of Congress, good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you and present my truthful testimony to the American people. I sit here today under oath for one reason and one reason only. The American people deserve to hear the truth. Though the truth involving the deep corruption of the Biden family, including the malfeasance of the sitting president of the United States, might be raw and unpleasant, the American people must hear it. You're presented here today with two narratives in this investigation. A false one being pushed by Joe Biden, a serial liar and fabulous, now under this impeachment investigation for public corruption. His brother, Jim Biden, a 75-year-old man who can't keep his lies straight, including under oath. And his son, Hunter Biden, a chronic drug addict facing 2 indictments with 12 counts. You also have before you the truth, confirmed by multiple Biden family business partners over many years and backed up by mountains of irrefutable evidence, including text messages, emails, documents, recordings. I am the only Biden family business partner with an impeccable military record. I'm grateful that this country has given me the freedom to be successful. I worked hard to become independently wealthy. I've taken several businesses public, sold multiple businesses to some of the world's best private equity firms. In fact, my business success is why they sought me out. However, what they have done is repugnant to me. I am here today because I'm a patriot and I'm a truth teller. We keep hearing from certain corners that our democracy is at risk and democracy is on the ballot in 24. Yet the same people preaching this mantra know better. They continue to lie directly to the American people without hesitation and remorse. Rep. Dan Goldman and Jamie Raskin, both lawyers, and Mr. Goldman, a former prosecutor with the SDNY from New York, will continue to lie today in this hearing and then go straight to the media to tell more lies. Hunter Biden's defense attorney, Abby Lowell, weaponizes letters to Congress to try to smear my name
Mr. Chairman.
misstate the cold hard facts
Mr. Chairman.
in an attempt to save his powerfully connected client and his father. I challenge Mr. Lowell to make those claims on national television so he can be held accountable for his lies. Prior to my successful business career, I was an officer in the United States Navy. At Navy's Elite Naval Nuclear Power Training Command, I later served as the command's chief technology officer.
And you can
Proceed. I apologize for the disruption from the.
Okay. Am I supposed to say it's my time, Mr. Raskin?
Yeah. But please, Mr. Bobulinski, please
Okay.
come to order. Mr. Bobulinski, please proceed.
Okay.
Please proceed. I apologize for the disruption from the minority.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, save his time, but he called members of this committee liars, and I just want to know whether the order and decorum requirements of House Rule 11 apply to witnesses appearing before the committee. Does it apply or does it not?
Should I address? I don't.
It does not.
There's there's decorum from the members. We've asked for that. There's no language that I'm aware of pertaining to a witness.
Thank you.
So don't make sure we didn't waste any of his time on the opening statement. Mr. Bobulinski, I'm sorry for the disruption. Please continue your opening statement.
I think you, Mr. Raskin, used.
We'll make sure it's right. We'll
okay,
make sure.
Great. I just want to restate, make sure the American people hear all these facts. Abby Lowell weaponizes letters to Congress to try to smear my name and misstate the cold hard facts in an attempt to save his powerfully connected client and his father. I challenge Mr. Lowell to make those claims on national television so he can be held accountable for his lies. Prior to my successful business career, I was an officer for over 6 years in the United States Navy's elite Naval Nuclear Power Training Command as a decorated master training specialist. I later served as the commander's chief technology officer, where I held a huge security clearance from the Department of Energy and the NSA. When I left Nuclear Power Training Command, I was the #1 ranked direct input officer in the entire command. And then I jumped into the business world and public markets. While I have made a few contributions over the years to Democrats, such as Representative Ro Khanna, I don't see him, but I hope he shows up today. He sits on the Democratic side of the Oversight Committee. I'm not a political person. I come from a family with a long history of distinguished service in our nation's military, including my father, both of my grandfathers, and my brother, all of whom were willing to sacrifice their lives for this great country. My sister serves our military vets for 2 decades at the Veterans Administration. We've lived our life as a family in service to this great country. I hope the American people will pay close attention to this hearing. I also hope they will understand that some members of this committee will engage in absurd attacks and efforts to try to deflect attention from the facts. And I will present today by questioning my integrity and my patriotic duty. You may see me speak passionately at this hearing, but for good reason. Not only was I willing to die for this country, every single male member of my immediate family was willing to die for this country. I want to be crystal clear. From my direct personal experience and what I've subsequently come to learn, it is clear to me that Joe Biden was the brand being sold by the Biden family. His family's foreign influence peddling operation from China to Ukraine and elsewhere sold out to foreign actors who are seeking to gain influence and access to Joe Biden and the United States government. Joe Biden was more than a participant in and a beneficiary of his family's business. He was an active, aware enabler who met with business associates such as myself to further the business, despite being buffered by a complex scheme to maintain plausible deniability. I ask this big question. If there's no evidence of corruption here today, if Joe's conduct and the conduct of his family were fully legal and proper, then why are they so dishonest about it? Not just slight misrepresentations of fact, but deep untruths about the entire corrupt enterprise. Hunter Biden gave his transcribed interview on February 28th and lied.
I lost it. Okay, we've lost it. Okay, for some reason, sorry, but YouTube has frozen up on me. We'll get to more of that coming up here in just a little bit. Interesting, though. I mean, he's bringing up, when you look at this entire case, the totality of the case, and he's bringing it up right there where Hunter and Joe Biden have consistently lied, and we know that they've moved the goalpost over and over and over and over again. And when you see the totality of the evidence that exists here, everything from the emails, the text, everything that came out of Hunter Biden's laptop. Remember how long they denied that, Hunter Biden's laptop was, they're trying to make the case in Goldman. And that's why one of the reasons I'm sure why Bobulinski called Goldman a liar. Oh, and the treat is right here very quickly. I'm looking at C-SPAN now. When I was watching it on Fox. And they didn't have the same camera angles. And when Bobulinski's calling them a liar, there's Raskin and Goldman. Oh, especially Raskin. He's just livid. Goldman just has a blank stare in his face as he, directly called them liars. And I love when Raskin said he's calling members. No, he's not calling members. He's calling you and Goldman a liar, as they have lied. But Bobulinski bringing up when we lost the feed there was stating what we have stated. Joe Biden has consistently lied about it, and everybody knows it. Every Democrat listening knows where this started. Remember, Joe Biden knew nothing about anything, and now where are they to the point now? They're to the point now, as we brought up, was it maybe 10 days ago, where now they've got the evidence that Biden got $40,000. Joe, not Hunter, Joe. Can you imagine? This shows you the problem when we talk about what we call not the culture, because it's not a conspiracy to censor, it's a culture to censor, because everybody knows if this was reversed and this was Republicans, they'd all be covering it. And so this is where they are not journalists. ABC and CBS didn't cover it at all. Why? Because they couldn't put a positive spin on it. They could cover parts of it, but they're not going to cover the part where I think it was Byron Donalds was laying out, along with Bobulinski, the Chinese money that went to the Biden family and went to Joe Biden. And so you think about that any other time in our history, if you had this kind of an association. Remember, the Trump-Russia collusion, which was a complete hoax. The Trump-Russia collusion was created by the Hillary Clinton campaign. Paid for, lied for, created, all made up. Made up to the point that they actually got a FISA warrant based, a secret warrant to spy on the campaign that was completely bogus. The information they used, completely bogus. The dossier, completely bogus. Made up with Hillary Clinton campaign money. And look how long that stuck and how long the mainstream media, stayed on that one. I mean, that got to the point, as we all know, the Mueller investigation, a special counsel that came up with nothing. Why? There was never anything there. The only thing they could have gotten, as we've said, if they would have followed it all the way through, they would have said, well, actually, Russia collusion, if we're looking for Russia collusion in the Trump campaign, the Russia collusion actually was the Hillary campaign. Because of the one of the creators of the dossier was a Russian national who worked for a liberal think tank at one point. And so you saw that. That was 3 years of lies. Here, you've got text messages. You've got the major evidence. Now you got Bobulinski coming, and that witness is a credible witness. But think about this. The information that damns Hunter Biden, the vast majority of it came from where? His laptop. And so that's where we are. That's where we are right now on this. And there's a complete, there's almost a blackout on the actual evidence. And you notice that you have nobody in the mainstream media actually looking at the specific evidence that Bobulinski or the Republicans are bringing and saying it's bogus. They'll change the topic. They'll say Trump. They'll say Giuliani. They'll say Russia collusion. They'll say Putin. But nobody on the Democratic side, well, they tried to. A couple of them tried, and they got burned. They got nowhere on it. And so the majority of them didn't try. I didn't think anybody would try because from what I could see, they don't have anything, and the few that tried got burned real big. More coming up, 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
In Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. So it's me and you, 866-90-RED-EYE. Coming up here on the show following the top of the hour, we'll get to the latest on what the Fed had to say. Biden cracking down on gas cars. When I heard that yesterday, I just went, the public is turned off to EVs and the expense of cars. And Biden's like, I don't know why everybody doesn't like me. And then this ruling comes out. And it's like, people don't want EVs, and it's going to skyrocket the cost, and you're going to have to subsidize more electric vehicles. And it's like, they just can't see it. Plus, we'll get more to the United Steelworkers endorsing Biden. Yep. We wish to commit union suicide. Do they forget? Biden killed tens of thousands of union jobs for no reason on the Keystone Pipeline. Just said, you're gone. Even his own cabinet, his climate czar, and he said he did it because of climate change. Even by their standard of climate change, that's erroneous, everyone, the climate czar, the energy czar, and who else? The transportation czar, all the czars, all said, well, no, this will make climate change worse, not better. It didn't matter. It fit the narrative. So union jobs, you went. He killed tens of thousands of union jobs for no reason at all, except imagery, and the union leadership sucks it up, and the union members keep paying their dues to the leadership that wishes to kill the union. Why? Why is this insanity? Why does it exist?
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it. I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off, me and you. We'll get to more of the audio from the, I like to call it the Bobulinski hearings, even though it was the Joe Biden corruption hearing. But as we know, the Biden administration came up now with new rules to accelerate the production of electric vehicles as everybody's moving away from doing it. And I was reading here just from National Review, Luther Ray Abel's column, Biden's vehicle emissions gaslighting. He goes, automobiles besides education, there may not exist another topic on which Democrats are more out of touch and out of their minds than the future of American transportation. Much of the left, especially the cultural left, reviles, and this is something that we've talked about before, and I know this. I actually had some personal experience with this a couple of years ago. I'll get to it in just a second. He goes, but much of the left, especially the cultural left, reviles the individualism and autonomy that cars offer. It's true. They do. Very quickly, this even goes back probably 20 years ago. And this was somebody who I knew in the business, actually helped in the radio business. And this person got out of the radio business and decided to go to college and went, not making this up, Berkeley for urban planning. And I'll never forget one time, he gave me a call, and he was a huge Springsteen fan. And gave me a call one day and said, hey, I'm coming in to see Springsteen. Can I stay with you? And I went, yeah, sure. And he goes, I got an extra ticket. And I went, oh, then I got to go too? Oh, come on. Yeah, I said, okay, I'll go. And so we got in. This was a discussion that we got in on the way to the airport as I was, getting ready to drop him off. This is after the show and everything else. How was the show? That's my music review. It was okay. Born to Run was okay. So we're headed to the airport, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but probably I was asking him about school and everything else, and urban planning, and I just wasn't thinking. And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, he goes, we learn a lot. We learn that really, nobody should live in a home." What? No. What people need to live in basically in communities, like in buildings where you have, common places, common nature places, and you have, jogging paths and bicycle paths and picnic tables and I said barbecues. That wouldn't be allowed. and he said, and really nobody should be driving vehicles. Everybody should be taking public transportation. Well, to make a short story less long, by the time we got to the airport, he opens the door. My response was, "Get out of my car, you communist!" Because it was amazing. And it was really, they've been preaching this for years. And Eric and I talked about this yesterday when a number of stories out there that we see the shrinkage of the major cities. A Seinfeld reference, but not the same thing. And we had talked that here in North Texas, that's booming. I mean, the population of North Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area is booming. 150,000 people. What was it, in 2022? Fastest growing place in the country. It's just, I can't believe how much it's grown. I really can't. I've been here 24 years now. And I can't believe it. But they were talking about the fact that the urban centers, though, are like Dallas County lost. It's like, how can you lose? It's like people don't want to live in cities anymore. And you can understand why over the last few years. Who would? People don't want to live in cities. They don't want to take public transportation. And, it's just the reality. They'd rather live in a home and have a lot. Well, you talked about that, like having a lot, cutting grass. They don't want any of that. People shouldn't have lawns. I got into a discussion with my old friend on that one. Nah, nobody should have their own lawn. Get out of my car, you communist. Get out. Jeez. I felt like Mickey in the Seinfeld episode where Kramer was the Santa and was embracing communism. But as he writes here, much of the left, especially the cultural left, reviles the individualism and autonomy that cars offer. According to them, everything would be much better if we packed ourselves into collectively subsidized tubes and were moved around in set and scheduled directions that a switchboard operator could control. Everyone would be safe and together like a preschool field trip to the environmental preserve where the children are attached to one another in a line by a rope. When they say comedy is based on the truth, that's why that's funny. Combine this happier as one instinct with the fixation on climate alarmism and its attendant demand for performative sacrifice, virtue signaling, and we get President Biden's continuation of Barack Obama's crusade against tailpipes, cash for clunkers, constricting the corporate average fuel economy standards. Today, the public was appraised of Biden's new EPA rule. Note that this is an executive action taken outside of Congress and an egregious abuse of power, which is slightly less deranged than the rule's original form. The original slashes 3 of the tires of American transportation, while the revision slashes 2 and then keys your ex's name on top of the trunk. What joy. As reported by National Review's Zach Kessel, the Biden administration announced Wednesday that it will impose the strictest vehicle emission regulations ever enacted as part of an effort to push the American car industry towards electric vehicles. The emission standards, which will cover light-duty vehicles, cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks, are set to apply to models produced from 2027 through 2032 and beyond. The new rules set targets for the number of electric models produced in the United States as a percentage of all light-duty vehicles created each year. For instance, in 2030, hitting the EPA's new targets would require somewhere between 31 and 44% of new cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks to be fully electric, with the exact percentage depending on the amount of emissions from the other vehicles. Electric vehicles are fine. Some are excellent, but forcing Americans to buy them or the plug-in hybrids is unnecessary and therefore wrong. Americans want inexpensive new vehicles, and everything the regulatory structure is doing at the moment is increasing costs for the producer and the consumer. Subsidizing EVs to compete with internal combustion engine vehicles is stealing from the future to reward yuppie liberals today. It's a student loan forgiveness with a license plate. Stop it. The next Republican administration should seriously consider removing all automobile emissions rulemaking authority from the Environmental Protection Agency and returning it to Congress. Democratic administrations and the environmentalist yahoos in the executive branch cannot be trusted on this question. They have too many reasons to spite the means by which Americans explore this great land, visit their loved ones, and conduct business. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. You know? But remember, as we stated, you didn't, I didn't, but this is what the majority of Americans have voted for. All the insanity you see today is what the majority of Americans have voted for. Now they're getting upset. That's what they want. It's what they wanted. Well, we didn't know they were going to go that far. Well, I did. Eric did. Conservatives knew. And every time we brought it up, what did you say? Oh, you guys are going down this hypothetical slippery slope. Well, maybe at the time it was hypothetical and a slippery slope. Now it's true on everything. They've gone insane on everything. But yeah, this the vehicle thing, and a lot of articles written, Wall Street Journal, Biden's EV mandate blows its cover. EPA's new tailpipe emissions rule is a plan to eliminate gas-powered cars. And again, this is all hypothetical because they can't do it. Everything they do, you know, and EVs, we know, you've basically hit the limit on it. People don't want electric vehicles. And the ones that do, fine. Don't subsidize it. By the way, do you know that every gas or diesel-fueled vehicle that you buy, you're subsidizing EVs? They raised the price of gas-powered vehicles, and they've been lowering the cost of EVs because they can't sell them. And you just wonder, how long will Americans put up with this insanity? All the inflation we see today? I love the Fed. Powell yesterday, well, we hope to do it 3 times. And, we don't think these are actually bumps that we're seeing. Yeah, okay. So it's transitory, huh? But yeah, everything we see right now, everything is insane. It really is. We're being led by idiots. But we chose those idiots. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Just because idling is common doesn't make it smart. Idling a diesel uses about a gallon of fuel per hour, which can cost you about $180 per week at $4.50 per gallon if your truck idles 8 hours a day. Idling easily can cost you a few thousand more in fuel alone per year, not including the added engine maintenance expense that results from excessive idling. Harder on your truck's engine than highway driving. In addition to operating costs, many governments impose no idling laws and regulations with fines as high as $25,000. Instead, there are many alternatives. An extra blanket for cold temperatures, window screens for when the weather is warm, bunk heaters, and various auxiliary power unit options abound in this day and age too, many powered just by batteries. Otherwise, diesel and gas gensets burn far less fuel than your truck's engine. Research options to find your fit. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. It's you and me. Wall Street Journal, I'd mentioned they did an editorial, too, on the new mandates that Biden has put in to basically kill the gasoline-powered vehicle. And as they point out here in their editorial yesterday, the administration has taken auto companies hostage, threatening to cause financial carnage across the industry with its EV mandate. CEOs are grateful for the delay in execution. EVs made up less than 8% of new automobile sales last year. More than half of them were Teslas. They accounted for less than 4% of General Motors and Ford sales. Foreign luxury automakers such as BMW, Mercedes, and Porsche have an easier time meeting the Biden mandates because their affluent customers can more easily afford EVs. The average price of a new EV, roughly $50,000, and only two cost less than $40,000 as of December, the Chevy Bolt and Nissan Leaf. Some makers have slashed EV prices to boost sales, but they are also losing money. Ford ran an operating loss of $4.7 billion on its EV business in 2023. They lost $64,700 for every EV sold. The companies are heavily subsidizing EVs with profits from gas-powered cars. This means middle-class Americans in Fargo are paying more for gas-powered cars so the affluent in Napa Valley can buy cheaper EVs. This cost shift won't be financially sustainable as Biden mandate ramps up, and it may not be politically sustainable either. Most popular gas-powered pickups emit 430 grams of CO2 per mile. Under EPA's final rule, trucks will have to average 184 grams in 2027, 128 grams in 2030, and 90 grams by 2032. Ergo, the companies will effectively have to produce 1 to 2 electric vehicles for every gas-powered one in 2027. The ratio will be closer to 4 to 1 by 2032. EPA claims the rule preserves consumer choice because hybrids and plug-ins can help meet the standard in the early years, but automakers will have no choice but to limit gas-powered and increase EV production to meet the mandates. The only choice Americans will have in the future is electric. Stellantis is already reducing deliveries of popular gas-powered cars to states that follow California's EV mandate. If you like your Jeep, better hope it doesn't break down. The White House claims that the standards will boost jobs, reduce pollution, and save consumers tens of billions of dollars in fuel costs is a lie. EVs require many fewer parts and workers to produce. Major automakers have cut thousands of jobs in the past couple of years to finance their EV transitions. Lower automobile profits will hurt Detroit's workers who receive profit-sharing bonuses. Companies hope to make EVs profitable through increased manufacturing efficiencies, but this will also likely mean fewer jobs. Technical disruption sometimes causes job losses, but the culprit here will be government mandate, not consumer preference. As for pollution, gas-powered cars emit more particulate matter from tailpipes than EVs, but battery-powered cars are heavier and cause more wear and tear on roads and tires, which produce more soot. Generating electricity and producing the batteries that power EVs creates particulate pollution. A new Panasonic EV plant in Kansas that will receive billions of dollars in subsidies from the Inflation Reduction Act is forcing a local utility to keep open a coal plant that was scheduled to close. Congratulations, Mr. President, for increasing coal production. This is the problem with central planners. This was the problem with the Soviet Union and their central planners. It'll be the problem with the United States, and is a problem with the United States when idiots believe that they can control the economy. And that's what's happening here. Not long ago, it was cheaper to fuel up an EV than a gas-powered car. No longer. Thanks to government's force-fed renewable transition, which is raising electricity prices, fueling a Ford F-Series truck now costs about $17 per 100 miles on average, compared to $17.75 for F-150 Lightning with mostly home charging, and $26.39 mostly commercial charges. There you go.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. I'm here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today and listen when and where you want. If you can, listen live overnight. I was telling you that the fact that just a little while ago, remember, a couple of years ago, they were saying, well, EVs are cheaper because electricity is cheaper, but then because this is the thing, they want you to drive EVs as they skyrocket the cost of the fuel to fuel up EVs, and they are going to guarantee that electricity prices will skyrocket through the roof because they believe, these idiots, that they can run the grid on solar and wind. Now they're grudgingly saying nuclear. Yeah, see how fast you can get nuclear into somebody's neighborhood. I mean, it's just amazing, because Biden officials believe that with enough subsidies, consumers will buy EVs. Oh, Beijing thought the same. Yet EVs that Chinese consumers don't want are now sitting on scrap yards and flooding foreign markets. Donald Trump was right when he pointed out last weekend that President Biden's EV mandate will do great harm to the United States auto industry, but the Biden White House is determined to remake the industry no matter the damage. Think about this. Biden, without the cognitive problems that he has, he's an idiot. He has no idea how the world really runs. He has no idea how engineering runs. He has no idea about electricity. None of these people do. They're idiots. And we put our future into their hands. Everything they sold us about EVs were lies. They'll be cheaper to fuel. They'll be cheaper to buy. They'll be much cleaner. All these are lies. They'll be just as convenient. As recently as probably 5-6 years ago, people would call and defend defend vehicles. Oh, I did get one email last week. Well, we like it. Well, the only problem we see with it is if we have to go on a long drive. Well, yeah, that's a problem. That's a big problem. But the fact is, too, your EV, you didn't pay the full cost of it. Pay the full cost of it. It's not cheaper. They're more expensive, and they're subsidized from manufacturing of batteries all the way through to actually the subsidy of the actual vehicle that you buy on the lot. Why do you think it was a Ford? Ford's losing, think about this, over $60,000 for every EV that they make. Democrats can't defend it. Democrats won't debate it. They just put out the order, and they expect the clones of the United States to just fall in line because they look at it and they go, my God, from the border that we tell them is secure. And to these idiots out there that believe we can run the grid on solar and wind. We can sell these idiots anything. They'll buy anything. All we have to do is say, oh, this is so pretty. Let's wrap a bow on it. And oh, boy, Does it sparkle? Oh, okay. Let's have some sparkles come down with the nice EV. Then these idiots will buy whatever we tell them. This is a perfect example. I said they can't debate it. They can't debate things. Really, they can't debate that EVs, and they really can't debate climate change based on the science. Can you believe all the changes we're making because of climate change, and there's never been a debate of scientists on this? And I believe what was the conservative group that probably about 8-9 years ago tried to get a debate, and they got all the one side, the people that said no, and even if there is climate change, people like Bjorn Lomborg and Michael Schellenberger that say, yeah, we believe, climate change is happening, but everything the left is doing is the wrong thing to do. So there's an assortment of people on one side saying, no, climate change, look, they've said all these disastrous things were going to happen over the last 40 years. None of them happen. Every single catastrophic prediction from the left on climate change has not come true. And we've asked the question, well, at some point, you have to say, do you lose any credibility? Or when all of your predictions are wrong, are you lying to me about other things? Yeah, they are. But they couldn't find, nobody on the left would actually debate it with the science of people on the right. And so there's never been a debate on this with scientists. And so then I want to play this. This was the Senate Budget Committee yesterday holding a hearing on the nature of climate costs. And then they bring in, as one of the expert witnesses, American cross-country skier Gus Schumacher. And his basic, as an expert witness, was, well, where I ski in Alaska, there's less snow. And you've got to see this as Senator John Kennedy starts asking him questions to find out what he knows about climate change and doing a background check. What opinions do you have on other things out there? Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chairman. Mr. Schumacher, welcome. You were, who invited you here today?
I came with Protect Our Winters.
Right. But you're here on behalf of the Democrats or the Republicans?
I'm here on behalf of the outdoor enthusiasts around America.
Okay. You were contacted by Senator Whitehouse's staff?
I personally came with Protect Our Winters, so I don't know how that went.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's there for the Democrats.
What is carbon dioxide?
I went to high school, but that's carbon dioxide is a gas.
Okay.
I'm not a professional to talk about carbon dioxide so much, but
Well, you want us to abolish it, right?
no, there's always going to be carbon dioxide.
Right. So what is it you want us to do?
I
Let me back up because I want to. I mean, you're here as an expert. Tell me more about what carbon dioxide is.
I'm here as an expert cross-country skier who sees the changes in my winters and the landscape that I live in Alaska. And so carbon dioxide is what I see it as is, it's a gas that exists in our atmosphere. And
What, is it the major part of our atmosphere? Or?
it's a huge part of our atmosphere, yes.
It's actually a very small part of our atmosphere.
Well, okay. But, yeah, I don't know. What are you asking specifically?
Well, you said we need to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. I'd like to know first if you know what it is. You want us to abolish fossil fuels?
I never said that.
You never have said that?
No.
Okay. What do you think we ought to do with fossil fuels?
What will we do with fossil fuels?
Yeah. Should we make any changes?
I would like to see a decrease in the use of fossil fuels. I think there's a possibility to use more electric generation.
Okay. Over what period of time? 10 years, 50 years, 100 years?
That's not, I would like to see it come as fast as possible while continuing.
How fast?
Sorry?
How fast?
I don't have a
You
great
don't
answer
know?
for that. No.
Okay. You just think, well, how much will it cost for us to become carbon neutral in the United States by 2050?
I'm not a professional on that. I don't have an answer.
You don't have any idea?
No,
You just think we ought to spend the money?
I'm not an economist.
Yeah, but it's going to cost money. You realize that?
Yeah, but we've also talked about the trade-off of what the cost of climate change as emergencies will cost in the future also. So
Right. But it's going to cost trillions of dollars to become carbon neutral by 2050, right?
I do not know.
You don't know. You just think we ought to do it.
I don't have a great answer for you, but I think
Okay.
I would. Like
If
to
we
see
spent
carbon-
those trillions of dollars and became carbon neutral by 2050 in the United States, which you advocate, how much will it reduce world temperatures?
I don't have an answer for that.
You don't know?
No.
You just think we ought to spend the money and then see what happens?
I think as an athlete, I think if we spend that money and invest in our future, hopefully those temperatures stop rising and maybe the snow at least stabilizes where it is for me. But yeah, I don't think anyone knows for sure. I don't know anyway.
Well, when my colleagues invite witnesses to come to us to tell us, advise us on passing legislation, I always check out the background of our witnesses because I like to know who I'm talking to. I checked yours out, Mr. Schumacher, and I want to be sure I understand it as I evaluate your testimony. On June 8, 2020, you tweeted, I'm going to quote, "The war on drugs was intentionally created to incarcerate black people en masse," end quote. The war on drugs, you said, was intentionally created to incarcerate black people en masse. Who intentionally created the war on drugs to put black people in jail? Who were you talking about?
I don't remember typing that.
You don't?
No.
It's on your Twitter feed.
Maybe a retweet. I don't know. I haven't used that in a while.
Well,
Also,
even
it
if
doesn't
it's a
seem like
retweet, it shows your support, right?
Maybe, yeah. But it's not the topic of this conversation.
Right, right. But it has to do with you're here giving us advice, and I just kind of like to know a little bit more about your point of view.
I'm here as an athlete giving you my story and what I've seen in my field.
On August 27th of 2020, you tweeted this, quote, I'm going to quote, "Police are paid with taxpayer dollars. If they are not answerable to us, we can demand new service," and that's what this is. Abolish the police in favor of that new service, end quote. You think we ought to abolish the police, do you?
Again, not the topic I'm here to talk about today.
I know, but you tweeted it. Do you think we ought to abolish the police?
That's not what I'm here to talk about.
Should we do that before or after we get rid of fossil fuels?
I'm not going to.
Okay, just thanks, Spicoli. I mean, it's just these are the kind of witnesses they bring in. And of course, they brought him in just for the emotional impact. Nothing to do with science. It's all emotion. And it's just like, my God. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with idiots who have no idea about science, no idea about engineering, no idea how things actually work. But they can bring emotion to it. I'm a young person and I want to be able to cross-country ski. And yes, I've experienced winters for 5 years because I'm not really that old, 5 or 10 years, and I'm making an analysis on the future, but I know nothing about anything. Same thing with EVs. We actually have Joe Biden. Think about that. Joe Biden. That you have, according to the polls, between 40 and 45% of Americans right now would vote for him. The most ever votes in an election for a president. And he's a complete idiot. He has no idea. And he believes, and many of you believe, who are Democrats and independents, believe that he has it inside of his brain to control the economy and dictate where the United States goes, technologically speaking. I think idiots voted for an idiot. And idiots have voted for idiots across the board on all of these things. And then, like I said, then on this day, you know, when all of the EV stuff coming up and the climate change hearing and Biden's new EV thing, and then the United Steelworkers come out and, oh, we're gonna endorse Biden. You're a bunch of idiots. Not the union members, but the leadership. But hey, this has been going on for over 20 years. Eventually, you've got to look at the union and say, the union membership and say, are you idiots too? Because the same type of people that disagree with you keep coming into office. You keep voting them in. By the way, I'm a former United Steelworker myself. And I'd be up in arms with the idiocy of the leadership if I was still a United Steelworker. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. I'm here. More on the Joe Biden corruption hearing from yesterday coming up here on Red Eye Radio.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. Good morning. All right, so I'm looking at this article here. Biden picks up another key union endorsement amid fight against Trump for blue-collar vote. President Biden picked up another key union endorsement on Wednesday, receiving the backing of the United Steelworkers as he battles former President Donald Trump. President Biden, this is the President David McCall from United Steelworkers International President. President Biden proved time and time again during his first term that he stands with working families, said David McCall in a statement. His vision and leadership allowed our nation to strengthen workers' access to collective bargaining, grow the middle class, and embark on a path to widespread prosperity. David McCall is an idiot. Look, this isn't going to affect the election. You know, nobody cares. And we know more union members each and every day look at the Democratic Party and say, what? And for David McCall to say that, you know, I don't know precisely. I'm assuming some United Steelworkers lost their jobs in the pipeline, with the Keystone Pipeline, because the USW represents 850,000 workers in metals, mining, pulp and paper, rubber, chemicals, glass, auto supply, and energy-producing industries. And so we all know what happened with the Keystone Pipeline. For image, Biden killed tens of thousands of union jobs. So David McCall is an idiot and a liar to begin with. He also states that they're doing this based on the fact of surveying the union members, implying the union members would back Biden. Our members told us they value retirement security, affordable health care, and labor laws that support our ability to form unions and negotiate strong contracts. President Biden's record on all these issues speaks for itself. I just love how unions continue to commit union suicide year in and year out. And it's like, well, oh, and just so you know, just so people know, it's all part of it. I'm a former United Steelworkers member. Yeah. I was a United Steelworker when I worked as a machinist at McGraw-Edison Worthington Group in South Buffalo. Known as, that's when I worked for them, they were known, the old name was Worthington Compressors. We built tons of stuff for the U.S. Navy. That plant is now out of business. But it's just the continuation of, to me, unions committing suicide. If they wish to commit suicide, that's fine. You know, the private sector unions down every single year. They're down every single year. And the union leadership in this country, whether it's Sean Fain of the United Auto Workers, at least he came out and said, well, most of our members don't agree with us. So that was, Eric got the biggest kick out of that one. He's like, so he's admitting the leadership of the union is endorsing a candidate that the union members don't want. It's like, wow. So there you go. It's not going to affect the election. This election's not going to be affected by things like the endorsement. Doesn't matter. People have made their decisions individually, but it's just interesting that, the tens of thousands of jobs killed on the Keystone Pipeline for no reason at all. None. Imagery that was not backed even by what Democrats believe. It's just the imagery killed the pipeline, and this is when John Kerry even disagreed with it. He's the climate czar. And Biden said, I'm doing it for climate change. Even John Kerry said, well, no, it's actually better if you have the oil moving through a pipeline than trains and trucks. By their standard. So by all standards, it was the wrong decision. And you did have some union leaders furious about it. Eric and I started noticing this, a long time ago, especially when the unions started backing illegal immigration in the country. And the union membership did not. And it's just continued and continued. And now it's to the point, look, they've made it clear. Democrats don't want heavy manufacturing in the United States. They claim they do, then they work against it on a consistent basis. Why? Heavy manufacturing contributes to climate change. And they live in this delusional world that somehow you can run a modern society and have it completely and totally clean. Well, it's a lie. They're selling you a lie. They're selling union membership a lie. But the union membership, even if we finally got to the point where the majority of the UAW is against where their leadership is going, President of the United Steelworkers is trying to make the case that the union membership is for Biden. Well, if you are and you're a union member, you're a fool. You're an absolute idiot. You're a fool. And this comes from a former United Steelworkers member. You're a fool if you put your trust in Joe Biden. Just that statement that Biden, his vision and leadership. My God. You've got union leadership. You've got United Steelworker union leadership gaslighting their own membership. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. And we're to the point now with unions, you're always going to get to the point. The only chance you have of existing is if manufacturing, if you make it where we have cheaper energy, you've got fossil fuels, you've got cheaper electricity. If you want manufacturing, which is the only chance you have of getting high-paid union jobs. Unless you do that, you're dead. And Biden's working against anything that makes manufacturing cheaper to do in the United States than elsewhere around the world. And nobody is challenging Sean Fain publicly from the United Auto Workers, or nobody is challenging the head of the United Steelworkers. Like I said, maybe Thursday should be Idiot Thursday. We live in a nation of just complete idiots. You know, it's the same thing of, the union membership. Okay, yeah, we're really moving forward because we're unionizing Starbucks. Oh, yeah. That's going to revive the union movement in the United States, isn't it? I'll repeat it again. The only chance that the really good union-paying jobs have to not continue to lose membership or lose membership less slowly is to demand that the government provide cheap energy to America. Because our adversaries are going to do everything they can to ensure that their industries have cheap energy. And Biden is doing everything. What the hell do you think is going to happen? Let's make EVs. Let's make EVs. Okay, we're going to need a tremendous amount more of electricity. We can't get it. Well, we don't care. Rah, rah, rah. We're union. We're union. Forget it. Forget about science. Forget about how electricity works. Forget about cheaper energy. We're just going to put our blinders on and go, rah, rah, union, 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 union. You're a bunch of fools. Tell me where I'm wrong. And we did the same for the United Auto Workers. We got a friend of Sean Fain called trying to defend him. What a con man he was. That night when we got guy was a friend of Sean Fain, called the show, heard it. Apparently, getting out of work early in the morning or whatever. But but he created his own problems. At least the head of the United Steelworkers is just completely gaslighting Sean Fain. Well, the majority of union workers don't agree with me. It's like, oh my God. But that's where it is. Man. Sorry for yelling, but I'm not sorry for yelling. Because I don't care whether you're a union worker or a non-union worker. In the early 80s, I was part of manufacturing. And I saw it go away, and I saw people suffer. And like I said, I want the manufacturing base in this country. I understand that automation and, artificial intelligence, I know what it's done. But there is still, we can have a tremendous manufacturing base in the United States, but you don't do it by not paying attention to science. And you don't do it with union leadership saying, oh, the great leadership of Biden. My God, what type of gaslighting is that? I don't know how these people collect. Seriously, if you look at it from the union point of view, I don't know how these union presidents can actually go to sleep at night without any guilt that they're betraying the membership of their unions constantly. But the reality is, if the businesses in industries and manufacturing don't have cheap energy and they can't make a profit easier in the United States than they can elsewhere, they're gone and the unions are dead. 866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Eric has the morning off. I'm here. Yeah, I always get I get furious. I have great memories of when I was a machinist and I was a United Steelworker, and then before that, when I was part of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, when I worked for a smaller plant outside of Buffalo, and that was just so people know, because oh really? Because I get that all the time when I bring it up. Yeah, it's like had my college degree and everything else. Worked as a bill collector during college and a club DJ, and then went into radio for a little bit. Couldn't make any money, and then did what my family always did, which was, I come from a family of machinists. That's where my dad started out. My grandfather had a machine shop in his garage in his backyard. That's McNamara. And so we all became my grandfather McNamara. And so we all knew, we all had machining backgrounds and knew about it, and would go up to my grandfather's machine shop, actually. And, my father would all the time, and we'd go with him. We were kids. He'd make stuff. Like he had lathes, grinders, he had everything there, mills in his garage. And so, that's where I came from. And I did it for about 4.5, 5 years, and then went back into radio in '83 and haven't been out since. So, but yeah, I just, so I don't care. Look, unions have always said, people ask, because being a conservative libertarian, I used to get it from unions all the time. You're anti-union. And here we are in 2024, and I can actually say, as a conservative, I am less anti-union than the union leadership in the United States. The union leadership in the United States is more anti-union than I could ever be. For me, unions, it's like, you've got to be able to compete in the marketplace. Well, you make it harder for unions to compete in the marketplace when energy costs are through the roof. You make it impossible for the really good the real good union jobs are never going to come from unionizing fast food and Starbucks. Another con job the unions are throwing at you. If unions are to succeed, or at least, stay above water, you're going to have to be in the United States, where we have so much available energy from fossil fuels that we can continue to have a manufacturing base because we have the cheapest energy in the world. That's how you do it. And that's why I get infuriated. Regular people are going to lose jobs. They lost jobs with the Keystone Pipeline for nothing. So I want to defend good jobs in the competitive marketplace that we can be competitive in. Because if you're not competitive in 2024 or you're not competitive in 2030, then the company doesn't exist and the union doesn't exist. End of story. And it galls me. It absolutely galls me to see, the big, the USW, the UAW, the big manufacturing unions get behind a party whose only goal is to kill heavy manufacturing because of climate change. And they've proven it over and over again. And that just ticks me off to no end. It's not even about union versus non-union. It's about killing jobs that don't need to be killed. And you're doing it for no reason at all. Because we saw it. It was done for no reason at all when Biden killed tens of thousands of union jobs by ending the Keystone Pipeline. He just killed them. Was there a big blowback? Not from the leadership. You see it now. Oh, the great thinker. Oh, that Biden, he's just something else when it comes to understanding what can keep the manufacturing unions going. You're an idiot. Stop it. Shut up. Don't embarrass yourself. So that's why I get angry. I get angry because when jobs are going to go in capitalism, technology is going to kill some jobs and create new jobs. That's just the reality of it. But when you have the ability to have great union jobs, non-union jobs in a competitive marketplace, because you have the access and the technology and the wherewithal in our society in the United States to have the cheapest energy available, which is so key to the manufacturing base, and you destroy that as a political party, and that's what the Democrats are doing, and then you get the endorsement of the leadership of these unions, and with the USW president saying basically that the members endorse him on it and make Joe Biden sound like this type of visionary. You're gaslighting everybody, and that gets me angry. That just infuriates me. So I know some people get upset when I start screaming. There are some things worth screaming. My golf game, when it's bad, no. That's not justifiable. This is. And it's embarrassing. Just embarrassing. And I've like I said, I have great memories. I'm not one of those people that got into this business that look back and go, I hated every job I ever had until I got this. I found every job I ever had fascinating in some way. When I first got hired, I mean, it was, when I first got hired as a machinist, it was like, whoa, man, I better perform here. And I did. And so I have great memories of that time. And when people lose their jobs for no reason at all, it just ticks me off.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
That's about it, isn't it? I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. He's on assignment. He's helping to market the show. All right. Got to market and sell the show. That's so Eric is out there, and I'm here with you today and tomorrow, and then Eric will be back Sunday night, Monday morning. But when the deep voice guy said, dealing with all the insanity, it's insanity. It really is. I was just thinking during the break, because whenever I mention it, because it doesn't come up often, but when I mention, that I was a United Steel worker and also a member of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, just a couple of quick stories that come along with that. I actually was involved in a small wildcat strike one time. That's an unauthorized, strike. And I worked at a small company, and it was very small local. It was like we had about, I think, 90 members at one plant, and that was it. To the point where our business manager, when it'd be contract negotiating time, we didn't trust the business manager. We didn't trust the national union. So it was a lot of young guys, a lot of guys in their 20s, and some, if you were to ask me, I'd say probably of the let's say there were 100, just to round it off, probably 80 were under 30, and the other 20 might have been over 30, and probably maybe 6 or 7 of them, the lead men for the different departments, who were probably in their 50s and 60s. I remember our lead man was a year from retirement, and I laughed because he was. I think of him then, and I'm going, yeah, Merrill was such a great guy, and nice old guy, 4 years younger than I am now. It's like, oh my gosh, that's when you feel old. But the one time we had one of the shift supervisors who just, it was some kind of personality conflict. There was this nicest guy, he was a very meek guy, but did his job. And, this guy was just a bully. This supervisor was just on his case, where I went up with a couple of, my buddies and told him, stop it. He goes, I'll have your jobs. He goes, you're an idiot. And, no, you won't. And he got the guy suspended. And we'd had enough because this had gone on for like a month. Everyone walked on the shift, including Merrill. Nobody ever thought that Merrill would walk. He's a year from retirement. He's been with the company for 40 years or whatever. Maybe it was 30 years, whatever. But he's been there for the longest time. He walks. And I remember we all went out to a bar and said, yeah, we all may get fired. It's like, yeah, but, this has to, you can't not have this. They need to know what's going on here. And there isn't any way. And I remember we worked second shift. So that I think probably would have been 4 o'clock. We began, maybe 4 to, maybe it was 4 to 12 or maybe it was 4 to 1 because you had an hour for lunch, or I can't remember what it was. But like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I get a call. We need to see you. Come on in. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Probably someone knows that I had words with that supervisor along with a few other. When I got in there, it was me and Merrill, the older guy. And I remember walking in and I said, look, we just want to explain to you everything. And I said, I think that everybody will agree here, whatever time was lost, whatever money was lost, we'll make it up and we'll work for nothing to make it up for you. And this was the plant manager, looked at me, goes, I don't care about that. I care about solving this situation here. What happened? And he goes, I trust you and I trust Merrill. It's like, oh. And we told him. And the supervisor got suspended. And there was nothing. We got nothing, and they thanked us. And we had a very good I always had a very good relationship. And it was funny because, I felt, like I said, I probably, if I hadn't gotten laid off, I might be doing that instead of radio. And I know one thing, one of the biggest goof-offs, it was just so funny because go 10 years down the line, and I'm working in the Buffalo area, and I'm running a radio station, and I'm doing a talk show and everything else, and we had this huge skating event. All the listeners came, and all of a sudden this guy comes up to me. He's on skates and everything else, and there's a guy who was the biggest goof-off at the plant. I mean, the biggest goof-off. I mean, it was like every single summer, July, oh, my back hurts, and he would get off. He'd be off all summer. And so he sits there and goes, hey, Gary McNamara, what's going on? Listen to your station all the time. I love it. Here's my family. And I said, what are you doing now? He said, oh, I'm the plant manager of the company. Got to be kidding me. He goes, I've changed. I go, I imagine so. But the other story I have is when it came to contract time, and I'd only been there, I'm going to guess maybe 2 years. And I can still remember that, the business manager did the contract with, a couple of the union stewards, whatever. But, and so they came to a tentative contract. But the union stewards came to me and said, you're the only one. And they just didn't trust the business manager of the National. They said, you're the only one that has a college education. Would you look this over and tell us whether you think it's a good deal? I said, okay, yeah, sure. And I looked at it and I went, yeah, it's a good deal. And I think there was an immediate, it was like a 9 or 10% raise in there. And I went, I said, well, that's really good. You got to sign it. I said, there's only one thing negative with it. And he said, what? And I said, well, if there's a 9% increase, 9 or 10% increase, I'm probably seniority at the lowest 10%. I'll probably lose my job. And I did. So that's the reality. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of economics. That you can sit there and go, we got a great union contract. Yeah, but you got the 9-10% raise, but the 9-10% of employees at the bottom end ended up getting laid off. There's always a cost to it. I wasn't angry. I mean, I was, it's like, okay. And then I went on to the other company where, in fact, my brother worked there. And they were very big on legacy machinist. It was the thing. My brother was a good machinist, so they said, well, if you're a good, and your brother's a machinist too? And they hired me like on the spot. And they said, yeah, we know that families that are machinists, if one's good, they're all good. Oh, okay. I like that idea because I don't know if I'm as good as my brother. So I ended up there. So like I said, some great stories, some real great stories. And just so you know, when I went to the place, this is how much they valued. The company valued, legacy family. When I got there, the first 2 weeks, I didn't do anything. There was nothing for me to do. They didn't have any work for me yet, and they still hired me. And so they had me sweeping. And I mean, I swept the entire department. And I kept going to my boss, okay, I'm done. And my boss, Mo, was just the greatest guy ever. And I do a quick story there also to show you it didn't matter whether you were union or management, if you had a trusting relationship, it did pay off. But I swept everything, and he kept giving me odd jobs to do. And I would come to him, that's done. And finally he looked at me, he goes, look, stop bothering me. Find yourself a place to sleep. And we'll have work for you here in the next week or so. True story. But the one thing I'll never forget, they told me, I remember there was a problem. I'm looking at the blueprint, and I can't remember what it was, but something was wrong in it. And I went and I said, this is wrong here. And he goes, no, it isn't. I said, yeah, it is. And I kept showing him, and this was like a 2-hour conversation, showing everything else. He goes, no, run it. Well, I scrapped the piece. It was scrapped. And I scrapped the entire lot. I don't know how much it cost, $20,000, $30,000 for scrapping those pieces. And they came to me. They were furious. You scrapped the pieces. And he was right there. And I didn't say anything. He just said, that was my call. He could have thrown me under the bus, and he didn't. And I always remembered that. And later on, because that division of that company went under a few years later, and this is like 15 years later, and I'm 15, 20 years later, I'm into talk radio and everything else by that time. I think I was working out of town. Yeah, I was working out of town. And my brother came up to me, he goes, hey, I'm working with Mo. And he said, how's your brother? I heard he's in the radio. He goes, yeah. So it was great. So like I said, I have very fond memories, and the people that I work with, and so many of the people, I mean, I don't care whether you're union or non-union. You work in these technical aspects. You're a steel worker. You're an automobile worker. You get into the technical aspect. You find there's great people that do that work. In construction, these are great, solid individuals. And that's why when I see union leadership gaslighting, as the head of the United Steelworkers did the other day about Biden and his visionary, his vision and everything else, it's a load of horse manure, and we all know it. And I guarantee every union member that read that said the same thing. Any United Steelworker looked at that and said, stop gaslighting me, stop lying to me. The visionary Biden. We all know that's crap. And so there is still an emotional tie. And that's why, first part of the hour I get angry about that stuff. Because when it gets down to it, the union, non-union, that's beyond most employees when they get hired. They get in and they go, I got the job. Oh, it's union, great. It's not union, okay, whatever. I've got the job. Everything's great. And so I hate when anybody, whether it's union or non-union, loses their job. And I'm sorry, I cannot, when the president did that and the administration did that with killing those tens of thousands of union jobs at the Keystone Pipeline, to me, that's unforgivable. because there was no reason to do it except pure imagery of politics. And that's immoral. That's evil. And so anybody, any union leadership head who endorses him and calls him visionary, it's a load of horse manure. And he should be called on it. They all should be called on it. And that's why we do it on the show. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the top of the hour, more on the witness for the Republicans yesterday, Hunter Biden's business partner, Tony Bobulinski, and more coming up. Really interesting, some of the stuff yesterday. We'll get into the one thing that really changed everything a couple of weeks ago, and that's when the Comer came out and the House Oversight Committee. I said Judiciary Committee before. It's the House Oversight Committee. Came out and said, "Oh, there's $40,000 that made its way from CFEC, which was the China-based energy company with close ties to the China's Communist Party. There's a $40,000 that made it into, Biden's bank account, and it's like, wow. I mean, that's where it originally came from, and made it to his bank account. And we're like, nobody's in an uproar in the mainstream media. It's like it doesn't exist. This really, you think about it, something like that has to be the first time. Might be the first time in American history where a politician, where you can see that money went from, an adversary of the United States as part of an influence peddling scheme to a president, and there's no uproar from his party at all. None. Zero. That shows you how things have changed, where it is acceptable to the Democratic Party. Corruption is acceptable. And it isn't to the American public. As we've stated, there's two things that the American public is still against. One is a politician not paying their taxes while they demand that you do. But even the Democrats don't care that Biden is calling for higher taxes, yet his son didn't pay his taxes. The hypocrisy there is huge. And the other thing that Americans don't like is influence peddling. And you can see through the polls, it doesn't matter. I talked about the fact that, 2 out of the 3 networks didn't carry it on the nightly news. They didn't mention it at all as if it didn't exist, which, again, shows their obvious, not just bias, but their political activism, because they didn't cover the story. If it was Trump, everybody would have covered the story. And the difference is, if it was Trump, the conservative media would cover the story. We'd cover the story. We'd all cover the story. They don't want to cover the story. You have to ask yourself, why not?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet Earth, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. He has the morning off. I'm Gary McNamara. I don't. I have to be here. Getting back to the Joe Biden influence peddling hearings yesterday. A couple of things that I want to bring up, some audio cuts too. But Jonathan Turley wrote this yesterday. The Democrats, as we saw yesterday, would, for example, blurt out something that they know is untrue. And when Bobulinski would say, and they'd be looking at Bobulinski, basically pointing their fingers and saying, here's an example right here. Look at this here. This would be Representative Garcia. All right, listen to this now. Here we go.
Once again, we're back to a hearing where no evidence is being provided of any sort of wrongdoing by the president. But I want to go back.
That's a
Mr.
blatant
Bobulinski.
lie.
Actually, it's my time, sir.
See that? He goes, that's a blatant lie. He's talking to him, looking at him. He says, that's a blatant lie. I'm talking, sir. How dare you interrupt me? Now, was there no evidence being provided of any sort by wrongdoing by the president? Well, we'll get to that here in a couple of moments when they bring up the $40,000 that went to Joe Biden from CFEC, the energy company with ties to the Chinese Communist Party. So you might not agree with the evidence, but there was evidence brought up. For example, Jonathan Turley commented on this. He said Representative Stephen Lynch just stated that the Republican legal experts said that there was no evidence to even suggest that President Biden may have committed impeachable offenses. That appears to be a reference to me, and that is untrue. I stated that there was ample evidence for an impeachment inquiry based on the existing evidence, and if proven, some of those allegations would be a credible basis for impeachment. My point was that an impeachment inquiry should not start with the presumption of impeachable conduct, and that I was not making such a presumption. The sole question was whether an inquiry was warranted, and I testified that it was. Moreover, the committee was aware that was my position before they invited me to testify. To declare impeachable acts at the very start of an inquiry would have prejudiced the evidence. I repeatedly laid out before and after the committee the potential impeachable offenses. Representative Raskin just stated that I testified with other witnesses that nothing would approach an impeachable offense in this inquiry. Again, that is not true. And this is where, again, Bobulinski was solid in saying, Raskin, you're a liar. Goldman, you're a liar. Garcia, what you just said is a lie. Because they're lying. And I will say this, I haven't, in all of my years, maybe there has been, and I didn't see the hearing, I have never seen a witness be so aggressive of picking out members of Congress and saying, you're lying. I've never seen that before. Not to this extent. Maybe it's happened before. I've never seen it to this extent. And who was it? Was it Moskowitz from New York? Who, when Bobulinski was going, nope, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. And he was like, I reclaim my time. And he goes, Chairman, could you do something? And he turns to Comer, and Comer's just, he's deadpan, and all of a sudden this big smile comes on his face, and he says nothing. I'm like, wow. But as he writes, Jonathan Turley writes here, Representative Raskin just stated that I testified with other witnesses that nothing would approach an impeachable offense in this inquiry. Again, that is not true. I said the opposite. I stated that there was ample evidence for the inquiry, and that if proven, again, they would be impeachable offenses. Wow. It's just amazing. You shake your head. I mean, the blatant line of the Democrats that can be refuted immediately. And then taking somebody like Jonathan Turley. This is where I said, they don't care if they lie. They don't care if they get caught in a lie. There is no shame. Their own constituents, and this is the problem with the Democratic Party, not the party. We know that the voters disagree, for example, on a lot of issues with the Democrats. But one thing the majority of Democrats, it seems to me, believe is it's okay to blatantly lie in Congress as long as it fits your narrative. But they lied about what Turley said. Stephen Lynch, Raskin, they lied about it. And he's there tweeting a couple minutes later, my God, Raskin just said, I said something. He's lying. I didn't say it. They don't care. Let me see if I can find what I wanted to get here. There's so many different audio cuts. Let me just see here. I wanted to get the one with, just give me 1 second here. You know, when you're scrolling and you want the scrolling to go fast and it decides to go in slow motion for some reason, it's like, come on, let's go. You can go faster. You can go faster. You can go faster. You can go faster. Oh, man, I wanted to get to the, it just, for some reason, everything's scrolling very slow here. Okay, maybe I'm going to have to get it here in a little bit. I wanted to get to the point where you had what's his name, Byron Donalds, actually walking through the Chinese money on it. For some reason, I can't find it here at the moment, but we'll get it here in a couple of seconds and play it for you because it's like it's really interesting. And that was the key. I mean, that was when that came out about 10 days ago. I think Eric and I were talking about it when it came out that $40,000 made it. They had the money trail from CEFC through the bank accounts right into Biden's bank account, $40,000. Eric and I went, well, there it is right there. You figured there would be an uproar in the mainstream media or something. Even some Democrats saying, okay, now it's time to go because you can't survive this. Didn't happen. They're still saying there's nothing there. It's like, well, you can see the money. They've got the checks. They've got the money transfer. They know the bank accounts. Doesn't seem to matter. Democrats don't care. Corruption is okay. And to the point of, they're not saying that the Republicans are, you don't see them come out and say, well, you did. For example, because Bobulinski called him a couple of things, and there's nothing here whatsoever, but they didn't challenge, very rarely did they challenge them. AOC did once, where she said, tell us what crimes he committed. And he goes, well, RICO's not a crime. He goes, what the hell are you talking about? RICO's not a crime. Of course it's a crime. It's a set of crimes, but it's definitely, RICO, when Bobulinski relates to RICO, what is he talking about? What are you talking about? There's a group of people that set up an enterprise to do what? Get money to the president, get money to the family through influence peddling. That's the enterprise. The only reason that it was set up. We talk about Fani Willis using the RICO Act against Trump. And the weakness of that case is, in any RICO case, you need to have a criminal enterprise, like the mob. The mob was only created for one thing. The mob wasn't created to be a charity. And somebody broke the law. The mob was created for one thing, to make money illegally. So at that point, you're a criminal enterprise. The weakness in Fani Willis's case is the Trump campaign was not a criminal enterprise. It had the first purpose that it was created was to do what? Win an election. And it's an enterprise that is created every single day in this country by every politician who runs for office. They create a campaign. And so for her to say that's a criminal enterprise and falls under the RICO Act, that's why everybody laughed at that and went, that's really, really poor. But the Biden family, everything that was set up, that enterprise, all the bank accounts that were set up, all the LLCs that were set up to funnel money through, that's when he says that's the RICO violation. That's the enterprise that was set up, the criminal enterprise, to influence, peddle, and make the Biden family rich. That's the enterprise. That's a much stronger point than Fani Willis will ever have. In fact, the only reason, as he was saying it was set up, he didn't say it, but the only reason you would put it under RICO is because that enterprise of the Biden family and all the bank accounts and everything else that was done to do one thing, make money. That's it. Make money through influence peddling. And the $40,000, now that we know that money went to Joe Biden, that's where you can say, okay, the money went to Biden. You notice they stopped saying that. The goalpost moved again, after the 40,000. Nobody is saying Joe Biden got no money. That disappeared 10 days ago, as you noticed. From what I know, nobody brought that up yesterday because you can't. They've got the 40,000, and we'll have the Byron Donalds back and forth here. I'll find that here in a couple of moments. Then this headline, Comer says he will invite Joe Biden to testify about the Biden family business dealings. He said he will soon be inviting him. Do you think Biden will show up? What's the over and under on that one? Do you think you have more chance of winning the bracket? Oh, Biden put out his brackets yesterday. Eric and I were talking about that earlier in the week. We said, wow, Obama had the brackets. Where's the Biden brackets? The Biden brackets have come out. And Biden has picked the New York Jets to be the winner of the NCAA basketball tournament. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. Due to safety concerns, many motor carriers have policies that limit or prohibit the use of cruise control. If your motor carrier does allow you to use cruise control, you should only use it in good driving conditions during daylight hours and on roads that have light traffic, few curves or hills, and a consistent speed limit. Never use cruise control when operating in adverse driving conditions, including wet, icy, or slippery roads, during rush hour in heavy traffic or on congested highways, at night, or when you're tired or fatigued. During all of these driving scenarios, you want to be controlling and adjusting your speed as you drive instead of having to suddenly brake if you encounter an obstacle. In the case of a slippery road surface, you want to be able to slow your vehicle by not accelerating instead of using the brakes whenever possible. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off, but he returns on Sunday night, Monday morning. Okay, you and me, we're still here for we're still here for the rest of the week. I want to play this one here because Representative Moskowitz, who yesterday, by the way, proved that he is a Putin supporter by wearing a Putin mask. So we now know that. It was quite blatant that he would actually promote Putin in a positive way. You know, how disgusting is that? Hey, if they want to twist bloodbath, why can't we twist why he wore the mask? But this was a little back and forth that happened yesterday. Oh, and I did find that the key point about the money transfer to Joe Biden we'll have coming up on the bottom of the hour. But this is this Representative Moskowitz saying, well, if you've got the evidence, why don't you do the impeachment vote right now? Which, of course, is something that you're going to say. And as the Republicans have always said all along, we're not going to have snap impeachments like you did. That's how they responded. Now, I still believe they're never going to have an impeachment vote. I don't think they're going to do that because they know they can't kick him out of office, and they're not going to do it, during the middle of a campaign. They want to destroy. They wanted to me, I could be wrong, but I've always thought they've never wanted the actual impeachment because the impeachment itself of Biden, if they get it, will mean nothing. And going through all of it, Republicans say, why would we do that? We don't have to do that. All we have to do is continue the drip, 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 and everything else that Biden does. This will just hurt him, but this is part of the back and forth here. Here we go.
I assume you believe he should be impeached, but my point is that the chairman has not yet moved for that. And so, look, Chairman, we got like 3.5 minutes here. I mean, let's just do the impeachment. I mean, why continue to waste millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money if we're going to impeach because you believe you've shown he's committed a high crime and misdemeanor? What are you waiting on? Let's just do it. I mean, by the way, we got Chairman Jordan here also, the double chairman. Why aren't you guys calling for the vote in your committee? When is it going to happen? When can we tell the American people you're going to stop wasting their money and just call for the vote on impeachment?
Gentlemen, yield?
Sure.
We don't do snap impeachments like you guys. We actually do the facts. We do oversight according to the
you're
Constitution.
never going to call for
He goes, you're never going to call for it. And they go, well, so now you're reading the future? It was pretty good yesterday. It was really good. Let me just see who else I have here, who else I want to throw in here very, very quickly. I'm just trying to see. We already did the Bobulinski thing. Don't have time for the Byron Donalds thing. We'll do that following the bottom of the hour. Okay, here it is. All right. This is one where they talk about Mr. Swalwell was going to come in this committee and lecture us about how China penetrates our government. That was the best one. Here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I find it incredibly rich. Mr. Swalwell is going to come to this committee and lecture us about how China penetrates our government. I think that's something he may know a thing or two about. But let's talk about how China has penetrated the highest levels of this government.
Oh my gosh, it was. They have nowhere to go. You cannot, because the problem for the Democrats is a problem it's been all along. So much of the information came from Hunter's own laptop, which now they cannot deny is his. And the rest is bank records. And the rest is Bobulinski, and anybody who tried to debate Bobulinski didn't get anywhere. They were never able to make a point. And if they made a point and Bobulinski said that's a lie, they just talked over them and never actually allowed the debate to happen. And that's why it was so bad for Democrats yesterday. What is this one here? All right, this is Representative Biggs as they discuss the speakerphone conversation between Hunter Biden and associates. Here we go.
And Yelena Baturina and her then husband Yuri, they were at the party, right?
Correct.
With Devin Archer as well?
That's correct.
And
okay, I can't. That's not coming in clear, is it? Okay, all right. That's not you can't hear it. They had audio problems here at this moment, so we'll await on that and see if we can get that cleared up, and then get to Byron Donalds, because Byron Donalds and others, and we'll also get to some of the parts where members of the Republican Party were saying it's time to hold Jim Biden and Hunter Biden on perjury charges, lying to Congress, because obviously they've lied to Congress. Bobulinski made that case that they absolutely lied to Congress. So that and more, all coming up. 866-98 Red Eye.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric has the morning off. I'm here with you talking about the impeachment inquiry hearing yesterday, where Hunter Biden was supposed to be there. He was not. Tony Bobulinski was a Hunter Biden business partner, and Byron Donalds, Representative Byron Donalds, discusses the money that Joe Biden got from CEFC, which is directly linked to the Chinese Communist Party. This is part of that testimony from yesterday.
Thank you, Chairman. It's been an interesting hearing so far. Let's actually get to the actual paper trail of money flow from the CEFC into the bank account for President Joe Biden. And I want to start with a text message, July 31, WhatsApp text message between Hunter Biden and one Mr. Zhao. Real quick, Mr. Bobulinski, who is Mr. Zhao?
Congressman Donalds, I'd just actually like to spend 20 seconds. If you noticed, Congressman Khanna scurried out of here very quickly, and I'm actually disgusted as I sit here that he didn't address me based on the fact that I'm sitting here in front of the world trying to testify to the truth. In October 2020, I have messages I'm willing to produce to both the Democrats and the Republicans that Ro Khanna sent to me saying, you have always demonstrated to me that you're nothing but an honest with the highest integrity individual, and I was begging for him to go on CNN and tell the world in October 2020. I have extensive emails with Congressman Ro Khanna in 2021 and 2022 where I begged him and his staff to sit down with me and look at my BlackBerry phones that the Democrats are so focused on, to hire forensics experts and go through all of the factual information I had. So the fact that he did not even address me and then scurried out of here is disgusting to me.
All right.
Sorry, Mr. Donalds. I'll answer your question now.
All right, so we're going to have to come off of that because now we're at 3 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I want to submit into the record 2 different WhatsApp text messages. One, July 31, between Hunter Biden and Mr. Zhao of CEFC, which stipulates that Hunter Biden wants to be able to move on from and get the contract resolved, get the deal resolved, and that Mr. Zhao responds and says, yes, the CEFC is willing to cooperate with the family. On August 31, there's another exchange, this time August 3rd, 2017, between Hunter Biden and Mr. Ganwei Dong. And in this message, they're talking about the stipulations of the arrangement between the Biden family and CEFC. I want to submit both WhatsApp text messages for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection to order.
Okay, now to the money flow, because this is where the rubber meets the road. On August 3rd, they actually stipulate through WhatsApp text messages the exact stipulations of the deal. On August 4th, $100,000 is wired into Owasco PC from CEFC infrastructure. Mr. Chairman, I want to submit for the record a portion of the bank statement for the time period August 3rd of 2017 to August 31, 2017, stipulating $100,000 going from CEFC into the bank account of Hunter Biden through Owasco PC.
Without objection to ordered.
On August 8th, 4 days later, $5 million is then transferred from the Northern International Capital account of $5 million to Hudson West III. Hudson West III is a bank account controlled by Hunter Biden and Mr. Ganwei, a.k.a. Kevin Dong, who is a CEFC associate. That money comes from the Northern International Capital bank account that is tied to the CCP. Mr. Chairman, I want to submit for the record the bank statement demonstrating that transfer.
Without objection to ordered.
Okay, moving on. On August 8th, the same time period, there is a wire transfer of $400,000 to Owasco PC from the Hudson West III bank account. That $400,000, Mr. Chairman, I have the transfer records in the bank accounts from the August time period. I want to submit that for the record.
Without objection to ordered.
Now, here's where the fun stuff comes in, everybody, and I got a minute to do it, so we're going to get this done. On August 14th, there is $150,000 that is transferred from Owasco PC, which is controlled by Hunter Biden, to Lion Hall Group, which is controlled by James Biden. I have the records here, Mr. Chairman, of the $150,000 that has gone to Lion Hall Group from Owasco PC. I want to submit that for the record.
Without objection to ordered.
On August 28th, and I believe we have a screenshot for everybody in the room. On August 28th, Mr. Chairman, we have the withdrawal ticket from Lion Hall Group that is signed by Sarah Biden, who is the wife of Jim Biden, for $50,000 to withdraw from Lion Hall Group. I want to submit that withdrawal receipt for the record.
Without objection to ordered.
On September 3rd, on August 28th, actually, Mr. Chairman, we have the deposit reference into Sarah Jones Biden's account on the same day she withdrew it from Lion Hall. I want to submit that from the record.
Without objection to ordered.
Last document. On September 3rd, 2007, from Sarah Biden's own personal account, there is a check that is written to Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr., the President of the United States today, for $40,000, signed loan repayment. A loan repayment, by the way, that Joe Biden's own personal accountant, Mr. Eric Schwerin, has no record for. I want to submit that for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection to ordered.
To the members of the committee, it is clear that the source of this money came from CEFC, And that CEFC is a company that is directly linked to the CCP and actually the chairman of the CCP, the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, Chairman Xi Jinping.
There you go. And like we said, that's the money. And the only response you ever got, well, he wasn't vice president at that point. But what it does show is, or he wasn't president or vice president at that point. But what it shows is money being transferred through that entire system that has existed since he was vice president. And that's the problem that you have there with it. So there was one more that I wanted to get to here. Not there. Hang on here. Hang on. There's so many pieces of audio that I have here. I'm just trying to get to the right one. All right, here it is. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the Chinese wanting to do business with the Biden family. Here we go.
So I want to show you another text. When he said his chairman, he was talking about his dad. This is from Rob Walker. It didn't seem to make much sense to Rob Walker either. So he said that when Hunter, he said this to you, when Hunter was talking about his chairman, he was talking about his dad. When Rob Walker came in to give his transcribed interview to the committee, he basically said, well, Hunter was high or confused or mad. And Rob Walker said that he was just trying to calm things down between you and Hunter. But that doesn't really answer the question about who Hunter Biden is talking about. Hunter Biden lied to this committee. So here, clearly, he says, Rob Walker's saying he's talking about his dad. So I want to be very clear. We've established that Zhang is not the chairman, obviously. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Correct.
Let me show you another message. This message doesn't call Zhang Chairman Zhang, does it? It just says the Chinese want to do business with the Bidens. As a matter of fact, it says, both coming to be my partner, to be partners with the Bidens, with an S. He, Zhang, has implied that the number one has made it clear and available to him. Who is the number one?
The number one is Xi Jinping.
Xi Jinping, the president of China? Yes or no? The leader of the Communist Party, the CCP?
Yes.
Is the number one?
Yes, that's the number one that Hunter was referencing in that message.
Now, let's be very clear. This was in 2017, but I would like to make it known for this committee that Joe Biden told the press in 2016, as a matter of fact, I quote, yeah, I am going to run in 2020. He told the press in 2016 that he was running for president of the United States in 2020. So here is the Bidens doing business in China in 2017 when everybody knew he was planning to be president of the United States. Do you see that to be a serious problem, Mr. Bobulinski?
I do, and I wish this committee would thoroughly investigate it and focus on all the evidence that the SDNY has on CFC. They had FISA warrants, so they were recording conversations, and I wish they disclosed all that data and fact to this committee.
And then I want to play this quick audio from Alabama Congressman Gary Palmer urging the House Oversight Committee to refer Jim Biden for criminal prosecution for lying under oath.
Mr. Chairman, it appears to me that there are material inconsistencies between the witnesses' testimony. These witnesses' statements appear to me to be irreconcilable. In short, Mr. Chairman, someone appears to be lying to the committee. The inconsistent testimony seems to come from Jim Biden, the president's brother. Lying to Congress is a serious offense, Mr. Chairman, a criminal one, in fact. And if the Bidens or anyone else has come before this committee and lied to this committee, I strongly encourage the committee to pursue criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. One last thing that
it was fascinating yesterday when you actually look at it and when you have all the the breaking down of everything. And it's interesting that the Democrats, for all the information, they're sort of really ignoring it. If they feel they may have an in, they went after Bobulinski. They really didn't get anywhere, though. Every time they did. I mean, one of the funniest ones was AOC when she said, what crimes did he commit? Well, RICO. RICO's not a crime. Oh, my gosh. She was blasted on social media for that. And the Babylon Bee went after her for it. So it was really a very, very poor performance. You had the Republicans, as we've stated from the very beginning, the problem is, and the Republicans did it again yesterday, the problem is all the information. You know, Bobulinski isn't a witness. This isn't like Christine Blasey Ford stating with no witnesses and zero evidence that she was a victim of a sexual assault. Bobulinski is just the business partner that's stating, yes, here's what these emails mean. Here's what this means. This email was sent here. You need to look at the tie-in between all these emails and, as I mentioned, the Chinese president, but the Chinese Communist Party and how all this goes right to the White House. And all this was about the fact that Joe Biden was telling everybody, I'm going to run for president. So the influence peddling scheme was taking place when he was vice president, and then he made it clear, I'm going to run for president, and therefore get aboard now. Very interested to see where this goes from this point on. In fact, James Comer laid it out in his opening statement. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to play that after the top of the hour because it's interesting to see, because you can look at it and you say, okay, is Comer lying? And the person yesterday who was accusing anybody in that room of lying was Bobulinski, and all of it was targeted at Democrats. And if you looked at the evidence and what Bobulinski said, he was right. They lied. Jonathan Turley caught them in a lie. He caught Raskin in a lie. Raskin referred to him by name and said, here's what Turley said. He goes, I didn't say that. He goes, my testimony is clear. It's right here. I think he even linked to his actual testimony. And that's a problem for the Democrats. It's a problem for Biden. 866-98 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I got to say this. Matt Gaetz made a fine point yesterday. If you're looking for an overall umbrella view of what happened yesterday, what the Democrats did. Okay, let's try it again here. Okay.
The Democrats could have sent anyone. They could have sent Hunter Biden. They could have sent Joe Biden. They could have sent Rob Walker. They could have sent Devin Archer. The Democrats could have sought any person to come and refute the direct evidence backed up by bank statements, backed up by calendar entries, backed up by emails, backed up by text messages. And who did the Democrats send to clear the name of Joe and Hunter Biden? They sent Lev Parnas.
There you go. And then he goes into, the fact that he's a convicted criminal and all that. But the major point would be that he had no dealings with any of the things that Bobulinski was dealing with, or wasn't a business partner of Hunter Biden, had nothing to do with what the Republicans are actually investigating. That actually was a great point that was made by Matt Gaetz. So we will have some from James Comer, because James Comer lays it all out. And a lot of people it's funny how many people really don't know what's going on here. They believe, because the polls show they believe Biden is crooked, but they don't know the specifics of it. And Comer just in a very short period actually lays out, what they have right now. And I think that's just an important piece of it for everybody to hear. 866-98 Red Eye.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.